Hi, I'm Mark Friestad. Human beings live inner and outer lives, and so we have the ability to mask what's really going on inside. So we might say that we believe something or say we're doing fine, but in reality, our lives don't reflect that. And sometimes this starts when we are very young. We're told to just put on a brave face, or why don't you smile more? And early on, we are being taught to hide behind a false representation of ourselves. In today's reading from Mathew 23, Jesus issues a warning to the teachers of the law and the Pharisees about hypocrisy. And he gives 7 examples of things that they professed to believe, but they didn't back up with their own actions. In Jesus' words, they do not practice what they preach. But let's stop and ask the question today. Why exactly is hypocrisy wrong? Especially in matters of religion. If we're following a holy God who has high standards, then aren't holding high standards for each other a good thing, even if secretly we can't measure up to them ourselves? Well, one problem with being a hypocrite is that it is fundamentally dishonest. In fact, the word hypocrite comes from a Greek word for actor. It was someone who was on stage wearing a mask. And if you think about it, the very best actors are being dishonest in that they fool you into believing that they are the character you're watching and not the real person behind the character. So when we don't practice what we preach and our inner lives don't match up with our outer lives, we are actually putting a stumbling block in other people's way. Spiritual maturity is a great thing, but if we're not careful in the way that we speak about it and we exaggerate our own goodness, it can end up discouraging rather than encouraging others to follow in the same path. We might be really well-intentioned. We're going to use our righteousness and goodness like a hammer to help them change, but real change begins inside of us, and it's a change that is for the sake of others. Practice what we preach. Secondly, though, hypocrisy is a danger to ourselves if we end up believing our own reports. And then, even when we're exposed, we might cling to the clean, perfect version of ourselves that we've chosen to put forward. And this is the kind of behavior that makes religion a dirty word. There's nothing wrong with the concept of religion. The term comes from a Latin word meaning to take 2 things that have been separated and bind them together. Again, you and God. But if we're not honest about our shortcomings, we start to rest in our own righteousness. And now we're binding ourselves to ourselves. This is elevating us, but it's devaluing God. And we get pumped up in pride and ego. And if God is in the equation at all, it's only to serve our self-interest. So when Jesus gives this warning, the Pharisees in Jerusalem had just finished trying to trick him and disgrace him. And he sees that they are about to reject him, just like their ancestors rejected the prophets. And by doing that, they are about to miss out, once again, on what God is doing. It's a warning for first century Jews, but also about the kind of Christians we don't want to be, where religious exercise stays only skin deep. It doesn't sink into the heart level. And so religious exercise becomes a barrier to experiencing what God is actually doing. Thanks for joining us on this journey through the Bible, one chapter a day. Take a look at Mathew 24 for tomorrow.